Geeks Boutique podcast is a show for mature audiences only. Listen at your own peril. Landing now at the Piece of Junk Studios in Lexington, Kentucky, a cornucopia of nerd culture with news and reviews from the genres of comics, science fiction, horror, gaming, and even a little cosplay. It's the Geeks Boutique podcast. And now, here's your hosts, JD, Zach, and Jason!
Hello, fanboys and fangirls. We're coming to you again this month for a quick spoiler-sode after seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We got to see it together on Thursday night in an advanced screening hosted by Collectibles Etc. here in Lexington, and we're just dying to talk about it. We are going to discuss the film at length and give our in-depth critiques starting now. If you have not yet seen Guardians 2, then stop listening now, hit pause, come back later, get your butt to the movie theater, give it a watch, and come back.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
Also, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's a great movie. But before we dive into it, John, our silky-voiced co-host here, has dug up a little history on the Guardians. We thought we'd start there to give us a leaping-off point.
Sure, absolutely. The team that we see in the movies isn't the original team of Guardians of the Galaxy. The first appearance of Guardians of the Galaxy, might surprise you, occurred in January of 1969 in Marvel Superheroes issue number 18. It was written by Arnold Drake and drawn by the famous Gene Colan, who was really, really known for his run on Tomb of Dracula. In the old day. Gene Colan has this really
He probably helped create Blade, too, then.
Oh, yeah, he did, yeah.
Nice.
Really smoky, of almost a floating type of artwork. I mean, just beautiful stuff. Very ephemeral. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just beautiful stuff. But they were the original team, creative team on Guardians of the Galaxy. And again, I mean, we're talking about a property that's 48 years old.
Who knew?
Yeah. So, but the original team was kind of different. The leader of the team was a guy named Major Victory. His name was Vance Astro.
I'm glad they got rid of that.
Sure. Like the Jetsons, right? Astro, the dog. Mm-hmm. But the entire team, before I get with the members, I guess I should say that the entire team was from the 31st century. They were a time-traveling team. And in the 31st century, they all got together to defeat this reptilian race called the Badoon, who basically had taken over most of the Milky Way. I think there's an actual figure, like 38 or 40% of the Milky Way had been taken over by the Badoon. And this race was like, up there actually exceeding in numbers of the Kree or the Skrull.
It's a lot of lizards.
Yep. So a lot of lizards. And it was really fun. They got some really weird stuff about them. Like all the males lived on one planet, all the females lived on the other planet. All
so
the
like reptilian shakers or something.
Yeah.
And there was never an argument had.
And evidently they had taken their women and put them into subjugation. And the reptilian women, the sisterhood of Badoon, they all lived on this one planet and they were peaceful. While the men, the brotherhood of the Badoon, would go out and conquer the universe, or the galaxy, rather. So these guys got together, the Guardians of the Galaxy did, and like I said, the major guy was Major Victory, or Vance Astro. He was a human astronaut who had launched into space in the late 1980s for Alpha Centauri, and they knew it would take at least 10 centuries for him to be there. So this guy was in and out of suspended animation for 1,000 years. While he was going, he went insane.
I can see how that would do. Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
Right. But along the way, his mutant psychokinetic abilities developed. So that was his power. He had the psychokinetic abilities, and he could project these concussive blasts.
Nice.
So by the time he got to Alpha Centauri, of course, people would learn to travel at the speed of light in the comics. And so there were already humans there.
This sucks.
Okay, so members of his team was a guy named Charlie. And this is the other thing, too. The Badoon, this is the 31st century, so, humans had moved out of Earth, had populated the entire solar system, but they had to be genetically engineered. So there's one character called Charlie 27. He's genetically altered. He's a genetically altered human and he was genetically altered to live in the environment of Jupiter.
Okay.
Well, now, folks, this is 1969, okay? We know Jupiter's mostly gas, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. But he had like 11 times the strength of an ordinary human being. He's massively powerful, huge, monsters, muscled, character. And then you had another character called Martin X, who was another human who had been genetically altered to live on Pluto. And he had a crystalline silicone body, almost made look like he was made of glass. And then finally, the other original member of the Guardians of the Galaxy was Yondu. And Yondu was a Centaurian. He was actually off of Centauri 4, which was a planet in the Alpha Centauri solar system.
Okay.
And he was basically kind of like a savage, almost like a Tarzan or a Conan type character who lived on this planet and was able to manipulate his arrows by whistling.
Well,
okay, so that was the original
Yondu.
Yondu.
Familiar, at least.
Yeah, it's like, because you look at the artwork of it, and he's very, like, pretty much a loincloth and that fin thing.
A huge fin.
Yeah.
Huge fin. Around. Yeah, huge fin.
So was the fin in the comics, was it like a biological thing?
Yes, it was biological.
So it wasn't like a technology-based thing?
No, not at all.
Huh.
And then later in this original team, they added Starhawk, okay? And Starhawk had these incredible powers. I mean, he was like almost omnipotent. His powers came from the hawk god, from Arcturus. And I don't know if you guys know about about astronomy and stuff. There's an actual,
constellation.
Yeah, there's a constellation called Arcturus, and basically it's the protector of the bear. But that's where he got his powers. I mean, this guy has precognitive abilities. He's space-proof. He can fly at the speed of light.
Scientific term.
He's a time traveler and an all-around badass, like super strong. This guy, he's almost, there's no kryptonite for this guy.
I was gonna say he's basically Marvel's Superman at this point.
Yeah, Starhawk. Okay, and then he had his stepsister, who interestingly enough becomes his wife, and they have 3 children.
In the backwoods space, Alabama.
Right. And she is also another member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Her name was Alita, and she also had some like precognitive abilities. And later on, there's some weird shit that happens, and she kind of like merges with the dying Starhawk, and now she is Starhawk, I think, in the Marvel Comics. But nevertheless. And then finally, there was another member of the original Guardians of the Galaxy, a girl named Nikki. She was another human who was genetically engineered to live on Mercury.
Nikki, that sounds pretty vanilla.
Yeah. Unless it's like that, that Darling Nikki song that Prince did back in the 80s. It was kind of a sexy song.
I'll say I've never met a girl named Nikki that was vanilla by any standards. I'll throw that out there right now.
You need to stop licking people, Zach.
That's how I make friends. If I lick it, it's mine. That's how you guys are here.
So we can't go to cons with you anymore.
Okay. Nikki's power, she could withstand the heat and UV radiation because she grew up on Mercury. And she's able to expel her body. She's like super hot in like a temperature way. And she expels her heat through the top of her head, and basically her hair is fire. That's the way she's depicted in the comics. Her abilities were she's super acrobat, sharpshooter. She used a lot of weapons and that kind of thing. So there you go. That's your original
lineup.
Yeah, that's your original Guardians of the Galaxy lineup. Nowhere near like what we saw on Thursday night.
Well,
now that we're kind of delving into more of the movie part of it, Charlie 27 is actually in the movie.
Yes, I believe he is.
Ving Rhames at the very end is Charlie 27. It actually says right in the credits there, Charlie 27, Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Who reads the credits?
Apparently this asshole. I guess I'm the only one that read the credits.
You gotta have something to do. You're waiting for the sneak peeks.
Exactly.
Right.
Huh.
Well,
good. Zach, why don't you take over for a minute and get us into the movie? I know you enjoyed it thoroughly because you were sitting there laughing your ass off the whole time, pointing at the screen like a mini Drax the Destroyer.
I'm basically convinced that
I merged into one.
I would be Drax the Destroyer. I mean, it's I would definitely jump into the mouth of the space worm just for funsies. Like, nothing else is working. Screw it. Let's see if we can kill it from the inside. No, I thought the movie was absolutely phenomenal. There was a lot of nods, though, to different characters all throughout it. You mentioned there was the guy with like the crystalline body. One of the Ravagers kind of looks like that. Is that
That's him. It's got to be.
Is
it's
it
got to
him,
be
or-
Martin.
I didn't notice that.
It's got to be Martin X.
Yeah, he's at
he's
the very
with-
beginning scene there with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
He's with him, and they're like,
Oh,
kind
okay,
of punking Yondu in a degree. They kind of like a little stare down, but he's got that weird crystalline body.
And another spoiler: the Stallone character, I believe that's Starhawk. He's got these like golden like metal pieces that go up over his shoulder, and they stick above and beyond his jacket, and that is like a nod to the actual design of Starhawk.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's who he is.
Some kind of fancy like epaulet or something.
Yeah.
What they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would make sense, I guess, as far as like something a shoulder kind of pauldron kind of thing, maybe. But no, I had an absolute blast with the movie. I think it hit just about every emotion you could imagine as far as the entire spread of things. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably my favorite movie that I've ever seen. This
In the history of time.
yeah, in the history of time.
Of course, you haven't seen a lot of crap either.
I know,
so
but
you
still,
haven't
though.
seen Blazing Saddles. So
Yeah, this is
hold
true
that
too.
opinion.
But I mean, that was, if nothing else, it's in definitely like the top 5 movies of all time I've ever seen.
If I was going to talk about it in terms of like being really good, I'll talk about it in terms of Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
And my top Marvel movie has always been Winter Soldier. I mean, up to this point, I really like that movie. But I think this has replaced it. This is my favorite Marvel Studios movie, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So my question, as someone who has not really read a lot of the comics, what do you guys think about the representation of the characters as far as compared to their movie forms, and how true were they to their comics origins? Like is Ego this massive just space dick basically that wants to destroy the universe?
I believe so.
Yes, he was. Absolutely.
comics.
He was
His name is Ego, so there's a hint.
Yeah, I mean exactly. That kind of gives it away there. But
Yeah.
like,
Ego actually showed up. I think I may have told someone that I think he showed up in Fantastic Four, but he didn't. He showed up in Thor, and it was issue like 132. Basically he's going around in space and he's absorbing other planets and destroying civilizations. And this civilization called the Rigelians, they basically get Thor to come and basically be their mercenary and help defend their planet. And so that's where he shows up. He shows up in Thor, and Thor defeats him. And then there are several times Ego kind of goes back and forth. I mean, sometimes he shows up as a protagonist, but most of the time he's an antagonist. I mean, there's one time where Thor and Galactus actually team up to defeat Ego. Obviously, Galactus is working on his own self-interest because he wants more planets for himself to consume. So at the end of it, basically they attach a huge propulsion system to the planet of Ego, which basically keeps him away from other planets, and he's just like blasting through the universe without being able to actually jump on another planet.
So it's kind of like they located it on that spot of his back he can't quite reach because the wicked itch. They can't knock the thrusters off. And
Yeah, exactly.
Well, doesn't like the Fantastic Four at one point in the comics, they save Galactus, don't they? And like kind of strike up a deal to where he'll protect Earth, but he doesn't really eat sentient. There are plans with a lot of sentient life on him. Tries to avoid it if possible, doesn't he?
He does at some point, but I mean before that though, he was wreaking pretty much havoc. He was the world destroyer. But it's funny you said that though. But Ego does show up right after that story. It was a John Byrne run, the Fantastic Four, where they save Galactus. Ego shows up there. He's gotten control of his unidirectional propulsion system, and he has tracked Galactus to Earth, and he's decided he's going to attack Earth. So then the Fantastic Four, they have to battle Ego. Yeah, it's a pretty good story as well. So, but Ego most of the time is definitely an antagonist. So I think that portrayal of him in the movie is pretty accurate.
So here's my thing. For as much as I absolutely loved the movie, my question is, how did you guys see it tying into the whole Infinity War's overall arc? Because other than at the very end bringing in Adam Warlock, it didn't really seem like it had a whole lot to do with that, with Thanos and all that, other than them wanting to kill Thanos, which is obvious.
well, wasn't it the end of the first Guardians? Maybe I'm mistaken, but they had one of the stones and they turned it over to the Collector.
Yeah, they
thinking
had
out
the
loud
Power Stone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that them?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how you found out that Peter Quill wasn't entirely human, because he touches it with his bare hands and he's.
Well, actually, I
He
think
survives.
I think the stone at the end of the Guardians, the one that Ronan had, actually went to the Nova Corps. I think they have it,
Yeah.
and it was probably the
It was the second Thor movie.
the Infinity Stone was delivered to the Collector by
Sif.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes,
But I felt like the first movie was really good as far as we're going to show you these individual characters. Now we're going to kind of bring them all together, getting the band together in a sense is what I kind of got gathered from it, showing how they work as a team.
yeah. It's a great standalone story. Outside of the Infinity War.
I thought they did a good job of kind of keeping that momentum rolling from the first movie. It's very, very fast-paced, very funny. And they were able to slide in the new characters, not only Ego, but Nebula and Mantis, very easily. They just blended them right in. You didn't notice any significant stoppages where we had to stop and bring in some new character. It was very organic to the story that they were writing. So I give them a lot of credit for that. Just blending in 3 new major characters without having to do a lot of back work on that. It just fit.
Right. I mean, how great is the relationship between Drax and just everybody? I mean,
Exactly. Once again, why I'm Drax the Destroyer.
Yeah,
He's kind of my favorite.
yeah, he definitely.
Oh, shucks. Stop it, you.
What?
I think he definitely steals some laughs from Groot this time. Baby Groot, without
Definitely.
a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as much as I like Baby Groot, the little scene there where they're trying to get him to bring Yondu's fin was pretty funny, but I was like, okay, how long are we going to continue this?
Mm-hmm.
This troop was really great the first 3 times. Now we're going on 5 and 6. However, though, when he did bring the guy's finger, that part was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
I could dig that.
I thought that went on a bit long, even though it was setting up later when he had the bomb.
Yes.
And you're like, well, this is no way this is going to go right based on previous information we've been given. He's going to blow them all to hell. So it did kind of help
True.
escalate that tension at the end, but maybe too much of it.
Do you think Chris Pratt is a bit of a straight man in this?
He almost is, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's great, but I think he's really, as far as there's a lot of comedy in this, but it doesn't really detract from the seriousness of the story, which is, I mean, it's just, that's just James. That's James Gunn, and that's him. I mean, give him all the money. Let him make all the movies from now on.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that if they're all going to be kind of like this. Just let him make everything. Every superhero movie, you can just have them all.
There's a nice gratuitous shot of Chris Pratt with his shirt off, too, for the ladies. A far cry from his Parks and Recreation days when he was kind of chunky slob. Andy.
Yeah, there's hope out there for all of us. With enough money and free time, you can do it. Anything is possible.
A few trainers managing your every moment.
I'll say enough money, you can do anything.
It was great too. The some of the tidbits that were dropped, during the whole conflict between Gamora and her sister.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that a lot. And there's some stuff in there about Thanos and just about how really bad the dude is with regard to how he treated his children.
So I guess to go back to the main arc of the story, so it turns out that Ego is Star-Lord's father.
Sure.
And he finds him. And it's all cool for a while. He's so happy to be reunited with Dad, but then again, Dad's up to some gnarly shit.
Yeah, Dad's not exactly on the up and up with everything. So.
Yeah.
No.
He is actually kind of using Peter Quill.
Yeah. Dad is Kurt Russell, by the way.
Yeah.
Wish
my dad was Kurt Russell.
Absolutely. I almost felt like he was a little bit of Stuntman Mike in this. Anybody ever seen Death Proof? The Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah, I feel like we've got a Stuntman Mike, but he's on as he called himself, a celestial level of absolute evilness. You know what I mean?
In both movies, they're definitive sociopaths. So I mean,
without a doubt,
Ego for sure is a textbook sociopath.
Sure. Hence his name, right? Ego.
Oh, I know, but I mean, definite spoilers with this though. The one scene where he talks about how he put the tumor in Peter Quill's mom's brain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That ran all over me. I was like, okay, I need to know. I kind of needed to know more, and I needed to know why did he do that.
I think he did it because he was talking at the time. He was talking about how he had
He kept trying and trying.
He'd been trying and trying. He'd been back to Earth several times, and he'd been back to Earth because he was falling in love with her. And so he had to do something to prevent himself from, veering off of his mission, which was basically, his grand scheme to dominate the entire universe. So he had to kill the woman that he loved. And I loved Peter Quill's reaction.
Hell yeah! Like,
it
I
was
was kind of saying
awesome.
it didn't do more. Like that was.
It was
exactly
on
what I
after
wanted
that.
to see.
Yeah, it was totally on.
It was on.
So-
It was
And
happening.
The scene though where he
It got
turned into
real.
the giant Pac-Man to eat him, I thought that was pretty fucking amazing.
Right.
I was like
right.
a little cheesy, but I loved it.
Right. I thought it was interesting that Ego called himself a Celestial. By anybody that's familiar with Marvel Comics,
I heard you gasp.
Yeah,
I was like 3 seats away in the cinema, and I heard John like,
well,
Celestial.
That's a little bit different because the Celestials were these beings that basically go around judging planets. They actually show a Celestial using an Infinity Stone in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's basically wiping out a planet with it. He's making a judgment, and he's wiping them out.
Your planet sucks, therefore you die?
Yeah, they make those judgments.
Well, God, I hope they're not watching us.
And then Ego called himself a Celestial. Back in the day, during the Kirby, what they called the space mythology that Jack Kirby created,
Yeah.
these characters were called the Elders of the Universe. People like the Collector, the Game Master,
The Watchers.
maybe the Watchers, and Ego. They were all part of that group. And they all had to do with like fighting, collecting, gaming to the extreme. They were all obsessed with one thing. And, I thought that was interesting, though, that they called him a Celestial instead of, I thought it would have been a great way to introduce the Elders of the Universe, since they've already introduced the Collector, right?
Yeah.
He was like the first one, I think, that they introduced.
Yeah.
And then as far as the Elders of the Universe. And then there was another character, like I said, called the Game Master. I think that's who the Jeff Goldblum character is
It's got to be.
in the Thor preview.
That would
God,
make a lot of sense.
I almost think that's who that is.
Yeah.
So do you think that's what they're ramping up to? That after Infinity War, they're going to kind of explore some of the Elders, or will the Elders more be in the Infinity War stuff?
I don't know. I think they would have already started mentioning it at this point, especially with the way they introduced Ego. But they called Ego a Celestial. I don't know. I mean, that might have been a faux pas. I think maybe.
While we're talking about the Watchers, though, they
Apparently
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee is a Watcher.
Yeah,
at least
apparently
drinks beer
he
with him.
is. Apparently he is. What is it, Utau or whatever, however you pronounce it? He is apparently Utau the Watcher, and it was confirmed that in each movie, he's actually the same guy.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just a cameo of a different character. He is the same character in every movie that he appears in.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
Like somebody called him out on it, and he said, there's a lot to that theory, and he couldn't directly say yes, but without saying yes, apparently
Stan Lee is a Watcher.
is the Watcher.
Do you think that is the?
I just said that, not knowing anything in the previous information. So
Yeah, it was some kind of interview, and he would not deny it, and his comments were very affirmative that is the truth of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it at the end, he's sitting with 3 other Watchers.
Yeah. Do you think that's the blue area of the moon? I don't guess it is, because it took place close
too far away.
Yeah, too far away. Too far away.
I don't know, but I loved it. So I think there's something to be said for that theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody have anything bad to say about the movie?
Not really. I mean, other than the fact that I think they should have called Ego, and I think they should have really introduced that whole idea of the Elders of the Universe, you know what I mean, rather than making him a Celestial. Because, like I said, in the first movie, they showed a Celestial, and they showed what they do. They basically judge planets, and they wipe them out. Or, according to the Marvel Universe, according to Kirby's space mythology, I mean, Earth and humans exist because of Celestials. They would go around with these experiments, kind of like, in 2001, they set up a monolith, basically, and guide life on a planet. And when life reaches a certain point, they come and, with a judgment. Usually there's 12 of them, and they're completely omnipotent. I mean, they're gods, basically. So
I would have liked to have honestly seen more of like the backstory of Mantis, with like Mantis and Ego, and like because all they really say is that she found, Ego found her as a larva, but I was like, I need to know more. Like, I picture that there's not just this weird like larva creature just floating through space. Like, how did he come across finding her?
Yeah, it really makes sense that she would come from a larva because she is hideous looking.
Yeah, in the best ways. I'd let her put her antenna on me any day.
I'll play devil's advocate then, just to screw with you guys.
Do it, man.
Do it, have at it. I'm too biased. I've got a hard on for this movie that you can carry me around with.
Well, didn't you feel a little bit like, I mean, it's mostly fun, action-packed, and then they'd stop for a moment. We'd have a little bit of an emotional part, and it's like every character had a counter character that they had some kind of conflict with, and then we'd pause and deal with that, and then it would be kind of this tender moment closer to the end of the movie where they got it resolved, whether it was Gamora and Nebula, or even Drax and Mantis.
Yeah.
They had some moment. It's like everybody had a partner in the film that they had some kind of conflict with.
Rocket and Yondu.
Yeah, even Rocket and Yondu.
Yeah.
Rocket and Yondu.
Well, Rocket and Quill, Rocket and
The
Yondu.
total raccoon crush there.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, even Quill and his father, and then, of course, Yondu being really actually more of a father. They had a little three-way going on there in this one.
Yeah.
But there were all these... I thought it was a little bit, I don't say, maybe staged, that everybody had like a counterpart that they had some kind of connection to. And let's stop the movie for a second, have our little emotional resolution, and then go back to the zany stuff.
Well,
I didn't really think of it like that. That is a good point.
It is a good point, but I just call that good character development. And I felt like that they were able to do what you're talking about.
It felt abrupt.
I don't know. I didn't feel that. I felt like that the movie was continuous and that it was just moving forward, even though they took those moments. Mm-hmm. I don't think that robbed the movie of its momentum in any way. And I think it added character development to those characters that you may not have gotten in the first one. I really like this movie better than the first movie.
See, I like the first one a little better.
Well,
burn the heretic, purge the unclean.
There you go.
And also Baby Groot. He's cute and all, but I had my fill. I had my fill.
Yeah. You heartless bastard.
Now, Teenage Groot, he looked interesting.
I would punch Teenage Groot in his tree bark face within the first 30 seconds of that goddamn movie.
I
would set him on fire. I would turn his ass into number 2 pencils just for sheer fuck of it.
And I'm also going to call BS on Zack the Destroyer over there. Best movie you've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. How many times did you see Deadpool? Remember Deadpool?
Oh, yeah. God. Don't
How many nerdgasms did you have over Deadpool?
All right, so...
You saw that movie like 10 times.
That's why I couldn't say it's the
no,
best
it's been
movie
way
I've ever
more than
seen.
10 times that I've seen Deadpool. I've seen it at least
This is better than
30.
Deadpool for you?
I plead the fifth, man. I don't know.
You're such a spoiler, Jason.
Nobody else wanted to step up to the plate.
Scott comes out of the movie, our fearless producer. He comes out of the movie saying, this is the best science fiction movie I've ever seen. And then you go,
what about Rogue One?
And you totally deflated it.
Here's the thing. I don't know. Comparing Deadpool and comparing Guardians of the Galaxy is like apples and oranges, man.
You said best movie ever.
He did.
I will
and
say,
I remember how batshit crazy you were over Deadpool.
Holistically, I will...
He's blushing. Maybe that's the sunburn.
Look, we'll forgive him.
I will say Guardians of the Galaxy, yes, better than Deadpool.
We got to forgive him for his youth on this one. Come on. That's what somebody, a youthful person would say that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stand by my claims. Now, as a character, do I love Deadpool? Yes, but Deadpool was the perfect fanboy movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, as holistically as a movie goes, yeah, I'll drop Guardians of the Galaxy in the number 1.
Okay. Well, I gave it a 4 out of 5. See, that leaves me a little bit of leeway if something else comes out. Maybe that Thor movie or whatever.
Right.
The next Star Wars might blow me away. So
I am a
Sith.
myself. I only do on absolutes. So.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely thought it was enjoyable, and I think that.
Also a movie.
Yeah, I think people. I think especially the obviously the crowd that the movie's pointed at, they're going to enjoy the movie, but I think that I think it'll reach a wider audience. Outside of our nerd community, I think though that people can really enjoy this movie. The ordinary non-nerd can go to this movie and really enjoy it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
4 out of 5. What do you think? 5 out of 5, John?
I give it 4.5 out of 5.
Oh. Zach?
6 out of 5.
Shut up. Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a 4.9. How about that?
4.9, okay.
Because there's always things that can be done better. Like I said, I didn't say it was the best movie ever. I said it's the best movie that I've seen.
I wish Yondu hadn't say it.
Died like a bitch in the beginning.
Oh,
No, he died well.
He died well,
He
but
died
I,
well.
I just had to
He
throw it
died
in there
well.
because the face you're making, as hesitant as you were, I was
Yeah,
like, let me
he
throw this
died
out
well.
Well,
there.
there's spoilers, and then there's like spoilers. So
look, nobody ever dies in the Marvel universe. Come on,
No, he's space dust.
Not
He's
true.
he's tits up.
nobody dies in the Marvel universe. Nobody. Every time the Red Skull got killed, I said, "Oh yeah, that fucking Nazi is finally gone." And then here he comes back.
For the record, Yondu died an honorable death. I only say it like
Absolutely.
that to mess with Jason to see him grimace because it brings me a slight bit of joy.
did anybody cry when he died by saving Star-Lord? Gave his life to save his adopted son. That's heavy shit.
Almost.
It's heavy
A little
shit.
misty-eyed. A little misty-eyedness out of it, sure.
Almost.
Okay. I'll leave you alone about it. So that was our Thursday night. Saturday, we went to a cool thing here in town. Well, it's actually over in Brandon's Crossing, just outside of Lexington. But they had, what's it called? The live art show,
Yes, live art event.
which is hosted by Justin Stewart. He's a local artist here in town. Does a lot of work for Image, if I'm not mistaken.
He does. He actually has done several books for Image. He's the colorist on Jim Mahfood's Girl Scouts. He's been the colorist on the last two projects. This new project that's coming out on May 17th. Everybody run out and get a copy of this because it's going to blow your mind. Jim Mahfood is unbelievable, and the color is great. And I think Justin also does the lettering on that. He also has done some work for IDW. He did the Miami Vice remix with IDW. That was also another. Jim Mahfood was the artist, and Justin was the colorist on that project. And they also did a project for Marvel together called Howard the Human. So, I mean, they've done a lot of stuff. They've did a project with Ziggy Marley called Marijuana Man.
Nice.
Go figure. So,
What was his powers?
but we have an actual
Snacking.
we have an actual working professional comic book artist, illustrator, colorist, letterer right amongst us
Yeah.
here in
It's
Lexington.
one of the good ones, too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
really good.
So he hosts this thing called Live Art, and they do it out at the Movie Tavern, Brandon's Crossing. So anytime there's a big release like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, they set up a bunch of easels, and local artists can come up and sling some paint,
Sure.
in marker form mostly, and
Yeah.
show off their art, sell a couple pieces. It's a really good time to sit around and watch them do their thing. People like me who don't have an artistic bone in their body, it's pretty cool to see them just step up to the plate and just knock stuff out that you'd pay $100
I mean,
for.
Jason, I can give you an artistic bone in your body after the show if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, maybe if Scott's interested.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's good old trucker BJ.
Anyway, so John and Scott headed out there and pulled down a few interviews for us, including one with Justin Stewart himself. So as soon as I stop talking, we're going to play those for you, and that'll wrap up our quick little mini episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Head over to our Facebook page. Give us a like. Download. Tell your friends. Trying to get the podcast off the ground. We need all the help we can get.
Sure, check us out on Twitter and check us out on Instagram.
We're everywhere. And also, don't forget to write in the show. If you have any questions for us, if we screwed something up and you want to call us morons, we'll take it all. Take all the feedback we can get. But while we were out there, we managed to get a couple interviews with Justin Stewart and with some guys from the Random Shit, Random Guy podcast. So we're going to play those interviews for you now, starting with the RSRG crew. The voices you're going to hear will be Bill Rourke and then Philip Broyles. They broadcast out of Corbin, Kentucky. And again, if you want to try to find their show, it's Random Shit, Random Guy, or RSRG. And take it away, Scott. Let's hear those interviews.
All right, this is JD. I'm out here at Brandon's Crossing at the Movie Tavern for the live art event before the Guardians of the Galaxy show. And I'm here with Bill from RSRG, one of the podcasts here in Kentucky, out of Corbin, Kentucky. And I want to ask you a couple questions. Hey, Bill, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. What's up?
All right. Can you tell us, you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy yet?
No, I haven't. Not yet. I'm excited.
All right, man. What would you like to see in it?
Gamora's boobs. That would be all right.
That's
Rocket's nuts. That would be all right.
That's awesome.
No, man. I just want to see something I haven't seen yet, to be honest. Surprise me.
That's cool, man. What's your favorite character in Guardians of the Galaxy?
I'd have to say Groot. Groot's the man. Of few words, but he's still the man.
All right, man. Did you see I guess you've seen the first one, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I loved it.
That's cool, man. Where do you think you're going to go with this episode? I mean, what do you think's going to happen, man? or have you read any spoilers?
No, I haven't.
You're going in
I've
fresh.
remained fresh. Yeah.
Going in fresh. All right, that's cool, man. All right, and if we'll ask you this, you read comic books, man?
Absolutely.
All right, what are you, a Marvel or DC guy?
I grew up a Marvel kid, man, but I switched over. I'm strictly Batman now.
Switched over. Okay, man. All right, well, if you had to pick a Marvel franchise to turn into a movie that they haven't made into a movie yet, what would it be, man?
It would be X-Men, but they wouldn't screw it up. Fuck Bryan Singer.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, brother.
No problem, man.
Okay. All right, man, it's JD again coming to you from Brands Crossing out here at the Movie Tavern at the live art event. And guess who walked in the door was Philip Rolls, man, from RSRG podcast. Random shit, random guy, right?
Yeah, what's up, man?
All right, what's up to you, man?
Doing well.
Hey, listen, man, we're just getting this podcast started, man. When did you start, man, and what made you want to do this?
Well, I think I've been going for 3 years now. I just put up episode 154, so it's been a little bit. I actually got into it through listening to Kevin Smith.
No kidding.
Huge Kevin Smith fan, and he kept posting about, how easy it was and everybody should do it. And he put out a challenge a few years ago saying that everybody who is listening to the podcast has 1 year to record a podcast, whether you post it or anything like that. And I at that point I hadn't met him or anything, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay. But yeah, and then, we started, I started out by myself, and then I've had a couple co-hosts come and go. But it's pretty much my gig.
Yeah, it sounds like you're dedicated, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It gives you something to look forward to each week. If it's a crappy week and you've got a lot of work to do, I always, I got to get the podcast done. It gives me something to, a goal to reach each week. It's really cool.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy yet?
I have. I went and watched it yesterday at a 1:30 showing with me and like 5 other old people.
That's awesome, man. Me and the Geeks Boutique crowd, we saw it on Thursday night at the premiere.
Yeah.
One of our buddies, Jason Carr, went over to Collectibles, etc., and picked up the premiere tickets, I don't know, about a month ago. And so we all we rolled up into Hamburg and watched it Thursday night, and we were all blown away. I'm not going to give any spoilers out.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Make sure you stay for all 5. I said 5 credit scenes.
Absolutely.
How crazy was that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they really did a really good job with the credits too, because it wasn't your boring black credits. They actually had stuff going on the whole time, so it makes your 15-minute sit there worth it.
Yeah, it's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, are you a Marvel guy or DC guy?
I am a Marvel guy, Spider-Man in particular.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And listen, man, if you were going to pick a Marvel franchise that hasn't been turned into a movie yet, which franchise would you go for?
I would like to see Namor.
Absolutely. The Submariner.
But the traditional dark one in particular.
Yeah.
I want him killing people. I want an anti-hero.
Yeah. I would really like it if, obviously, I think everybody would like it if Marvel could get the rights back to Fantastic Four and they could introduce Namor in a Marvel movie from Marvel Disney Studios.
Well, here's my thoughts on the Fantastic Four. If you can get the Fantastic Four back, don't do another movie. Do a Netflix series where you can go into the family life, break down what's going on, similar to the way they've done with Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Drew, and...
But not like Iron Fist.
Iron Fist wasn't horrible.
No, Iron Fist sucks.
No, Iron Fist doesn't suck. What sucks is they keep too long on that stupid boardroom family, and instead of what's going on. What about Danny? Danny. Like, if you don't know his name by the end of that movie, fuck.
It's totally screwed,
The
man.
first time was awesome. It's like Danny Rand, and it's like 20 more times in the next 5 minutes. It's like,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this again. I would love to see like Namor introduced in a Fantastic Four movie like he was, obviously, Reed Richards made that blue costume for him so that he could exist outside of water longer, and stay strong and that kind of thing. I think it'd be great, and they could have the whole love triangle with him and Sue Richards and everything.
Right, yeah, that would be cool too.
But yeah, Fantastic Four, man. Isn't it a shame that they don't publish that comic anymore? But I did hear recently that they're going to start publishing
I got
it
a
again.
feeling they're going to come back.
Yeah.
If you keep up with the Marvel listings, they're about to go back to legacy numbering, which means all your books are going to hit I say once Amazing Spider-Man hits 750, it'll be 750, 751. They're about to do it, I think, next month with Venom. Venom's going to go to issue 150.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a lot of that traditional numbering. And I think when the traditional numbering comes back, you're going to get the first family of comics back. And that'll be a good way to tie in what happened in that 9 months gap between Secret Wars. I mean, that's the best way to do it.
Right.
You can bring back the family who saved the universe. Spoilers if you haven't read it. And then everything can go back to normal.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you this question. What's the best of the Fantastic Four movies?
Silver Surfer. It's bad, but it's got the Silver Surfer. The visuals on the Silver Surfer make it worth it alone.
I disagree. As I've said before, the favorite Fantastic Four movie, or the best Fantastic Four movie, is The Incredibles.
That is a very good Fantastic Four movie. But yeah, if we're actually going with a real Fantastic Four, I would have to go the Silver Surfer just for the visuals alone.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot, man, for talking to us
Yeah.
here.
Nope.
And enjoy all this fine live art, man.
Yeah. Everybody check me out. It's rsrgentertainment.com. We're part of the Earplug Podcast Network. You can find us at earplugpodcast.com, rsrgentertainment.com, iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff.
Thanks, man.
No problem.
Okay, next up is John's interview with Justin Stewart himself, the man himself.
That's right.
Please give it a listen. Justin's a really, really talented artist. He's been so kind to the podcast. Every time we've reached out, he's been really cooperative, willing to come on the show later and conduct the interviews and welcomed us to the live art show. Big fans of his. We bought a lot of his artwork at the Free Comic Book Day. He was up at Collectibles, etc. here in Lexington.
Yeah.
Loaded up on his stuff. He had this awesome Jawa Jedi thing that I cajoled Scott into buying.
Absolutely. And I bought his Mammoth Rider print. I love that. It was great. It's like a barbarian on the back of a mammoth with a spear of destiny.
How can you go wrong?
Oh, no, it's awesome.
So yeah, give a listen to the interview with Justin, and once that's finished up, that'll be the end of our show for now. Please head to our social media sites. Give us a positive review on iTunes. Lie if you have to. We're still a young podcast trying to get our brand out there and spread the word, spread the gospel that we're preaching about good comics and good artists. Also check out our Facebook page. What else we got, John? You manage the
you can download us off of SoundCloud, Stitcher. Of course, iTunes, and even Google Play Music for those of you who have Android devices.
So check out the interviews, and we'll see you next show.
All right, man, this is JD again out here at Brand's Crossing Movie Tavern. I'm here with the guy who organizes these live art events. It's Justin Stewart. Say hey, Justin.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right,
How are you?
That's great. That's great, man. Hey, man, when did you start, or how did you get into doing all this, man?
Well, I do, full story, full disclosure, I do a lot of work with Jim Mahfood, and I saw him do live art at the San Diego Comic-Con at a bar in 2006.
Yeah.
And it was just him and a bunch of other artists, up on stage drawing and painting, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, why is this not everywhere?
Right.
So when I got back to Kentucky, I started planning, and then the very first live art we did was for the first Star Trek reboot in 2009.
Wow.
So it took me a couple years to figure out where I could do it, because I was trying to look at bars and different comic shops and stuff in town, and nobody really knew what I meant when I said live art. And then the Movie Tavern came along, and at the time they were right next to the comic book shop that I went to. Yeah. And so all the people that worked there were super into comics,
right.
And that's when the big superhero boom started,
right.
in movies. So yeah, 2009, we just posted up, and we've been doing it ever since.
Man, that's awesome. I saw Jim Mahfood do live art just this last Lexington Comic-Con 2017, and he's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he's the originator. He's the originator. He would tell me that he used to do it in basement parties when he was in art school.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, I can imagine what those parties are like.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, man.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so since 2009 you've been doing these live events.
Yeah.
That's great, man. And for you guys that don't know, Justin is the colorist on a lot of books, some image books, Girl Scouts, Miami Vice Remix. Tell them a little bit about your what your wares are.
Sure.
Think yourself, man.
Sure, absolutely. We have me and Jim. We have Girl Scouts Magic Socks coming out on May 17th. It's a 6-issue miniseries, so it'll last May, June, July, August, all throughout the fall. Trade paperback in December. And before that, we did Miami Vice Remix for IDW, and then we did Howard the Human, one-shot for Marvel that Scotty Young actually wrote. And before that, we did a book, a hardcover book that at Image that Ziggy Marley wrote, and it should not be shocking that the title of the book is Marijuana Man.
That's great.
So, and also, you know, Jim drawing a book called Marijuana Man is probably the most perfect on-point thing ever. So I'm like, I've been coloring stuff for Jim Mahfood since 2005. Yeah. So pretty much any of the big stuff that he's done, I've had a hand in coloring a majority of it. And then on the side, I do, you know, my own illustrations and comics and graphic design and weirdness.
Right, Kentucky Kaiju for one thing.
Yes.
And we're going to have Justin on, you know, at a later date on our podcast so we could talk in depth about art and, how he got started in that, you know. But listeners, you know, listen up. This is a professional right in our own backyard. I mean, and if you're missing out if you're not coming to these live events.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool thing that if anybody that's relatively local to Kentucky, all of the big genre movies that open, you know, all your superhero movies, all your sci-fi movies, at the Movie Tavern at Brandon Crossing, we always come in every Saturday that there's a big movie opening. We come in and post up and do live drawing and painting right here in the bar.
There you go, folks. All right, man. Justin, thanks a lot for talking to us. And
thanks so much, JD.
Maybe we can get a lot of people out here, man.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Right on.
Take it easy.
Music for the Geeks Boutique podcast is performed, recorded, and owned by Kung Fu Lips and the Critical Hits. For booking information, please message us on our Facebook page at Geeks Boutique Lex.